Virgo, it was a wonderful, wonderful reading last month. Is April's as good? Well, there were some negative aspects to last month, but it was your ability to simply rise above them that was so important. Indeed, we can see, bottom right, arguments, conflicts, but I don't think they bother you anymore. You're just looking at them as an observer, However, there is one thing that concerns me, Virgo, and that is the central card there. A card of fear of the unknown. Now, of course, we're all frightened of the unknown, but to get this energy in this placement suggests that fear is impacting on other energies, is impacting on your life. So I'm a little concerned about that. Nevertheless, your current energy is that of temperance. I think that's you having suppressed your ego. You don't even care about taking positions. Tribalism. You're not bothered about it. You take the middle ground and you see the other's point of view, because that just seems like a way of life, the right way to be. I'm a little concerned also that you appear to be going out and looking for wealth. Maybe you feel the need to, but I thought you'd gone past that. And what would be a much better strategy is if you were to look for love. Look for creative things. I think things would work out better for you if you did that. Maybe it's out of this fear. Maybe it's fear of poverty or fear of being needy, Nevertheless, come on, it was wonderful last month. You are scoring some victories, but it's possible, just possible, that you're upsetting some people. And in the future, you're going to be looking back at what's gone on. Maybe you do feel like a wounded warrior. Maybe you do. I think you're actually looking on it stoically. Maybe you even recognise that it's been a test. In fact, all of life is a test, because I think you can see through these things, Virgo. Let's get into it. What concerns me about this week is this central card. It's the card of fear, but in particular it's fear of the unknown. We're all fearful of the unknown. We're all fearful of change, and you'll hear the sort of, the self-development. Well, it is self-development, but what do they call it? Anyway, these gurus that appear on this platform, they'll tell you have to embrace change, you mustn't be fearful of change. Change is natural. Change is something, that we have to embrace. Don't be fearful of it. It's what rubbish. Everyone's fearful of change. We need to try and overcome it. We need to try and make it fleeting. But we're all fearful of change, so I can understand it. But it being placed here means that it's dominating your thinking a little too much. The trick is to make this fear fleeting. Make it just fleeting and recognise it's normal. Instead of seeing it as something to suppress, recognise it as normal but fleeting, and have a happy trigger, as it were, that you can use whenever you get into this cycle of fear. I might add that my latest sort of trigger when I'm feeling fearful, my latest trigger to raise my vibrations, was the title I gave to your last month's reading. And that is the song by the Love Unlimited Orchestra. It may be winter outside, but in my heart it's spring. If you can find your own trigger, it does wonders. Now in the past, there has been conflict. There has been. But you've learned how to deal with it. It may be winter outside, but in my heart it's spring, You see, so often conflict, and this isn't a serious conflict. So often conflicts are about our ego getting in the way of resolution. So often conflicts are about us thinking, I won't let them get away with that. But why? Why? How does it really affect you, Is it something that really matters? Sometimes even if it really matters, is it not better to just say, yeah, well, I'm not bothered. Yeah, there are times when, I think we learned so much in the playground and we promptly forgot it. But in the playground, sometimes we knew that not every battle was worth fighting. And I think you've already understood that, Virgo. A long time ago, I used to moderate a lot of focus groups. It's a research technique, you've probably heard of it. And it's somewhere between being a talk show host and a chairperson. But that chairperson sort of ethos is very important. It's not about how clever you are. It's not about you speaking. It's about hearing others' opinions and you capturing it and you encouraging them to express their opinions, even if you completely disagree with them, because it's a research technique. You're interested in their opinions. Your opinions are completely irrelevant. So it is like a chairman. It's about keeping everybody talking. And if you spot somebody that's not talking, calling them by name and asking them what their opinion is. It's not about your opinion. And I think you've learned that. You've learned that. You've learned to understand where others are coming from. You've learned to nurture and encourage others. And that your ego, your opinion, is absolutely irrelevant. And indeed, that sometimes taking the middle ground, even though it's probably not what you believe, is actually the best policy. In the future, you're going to look back, not only on April, but, of recent events. Look back at them. Maybe you will feel like a wounded warrior, I'm not sure. But I think you'll look back stoically and you'll say, oh yeah, well that happened. But more like an observer, more like this focus group moderator, It's not about you, it's about looking back, oh that was interesting. They had those opinions. Wasn't necessarily opinions you shared, but it was interesting. You were just tracking it, and I think that's it. I think you're just looking at your life and the world as a somewhat disinterested observer. Disinterested is too strong, because you are interested, but you're not a participant observer. And I think that's how you feel about your life. If you remember, the underlying energy is that of fear, fear of the unknown. And I'm sure that's behind this somewhat incongruent energy. And that is you going and searching for wealth. I think you're worried about the future. Worried that will you have enough? And you need to go out seeking wealth. Now, if the ego's not behind this at all, it probably doesn't matter. But nevertheless, I think it does come from fear. It doesn't come from an acknowledgement that Allah, God, the universe, provides us with abundance. And if we put ourselves in their hands, then we will receive that abundance. So maybe you're not quite as advanced as I thought you were. I'm absolutely certain the universe is saying to you, instead of looking for wealth or money, much better you look for love. And I'm surprised you hadn't picked up on this, that actually the changes that matter are changes to do with love. But it is to do with this fear. I'm sure that's pushing you towards looking for money. I'm also sure that this fear is to do with the fact that you're tired. You've been through an awful lot, so I can understand it. But, you know, you have grasped. I mean, you did last month grasp. It may be winter outside, but in my heart it's spring. And, you know, Love Unlimited followed up that single with another classic, which really, really does say it all, Under the Influence of Love. And that's where you need to aim. If you remember this looking for wealth, looking for money, I'm not certain is the right strategy. And as I've said, looking for love is the right strategy. But this looking for money leads to the outcome, and it's not a bad outcome. It's about you scoring some victories. They're battles rather than wars won. But the very fact that you see them as battles, that you see them as conflicts, that you see them as something that needs winning, suggests to me that you're slipping back in terms of your understanding and thoughts. And these will, maybe only jealousy, but they will create animosity towards you amongst others. And that will create another challenge for you. So, you know, I'm not trying to say that you've slipped back terribly, but I am saying there are the signs here, and I think it's all due to fear. Now, I did pull some cards of clarification on this fear, but I don't think we need it. I mean, we can go straight into the summary. I don't think, you know, why do I need to explain that you're fearful of the unknown? I mean, as I say, we all are. I think you may be a bit tired. You know, that's one of the things. We all are, you know. We're all a little fearful of the unknown. So I don't think we need that explanation. So I'm going to go straight into it, but that's unusual, you know, because it's the first month that I've never done a full clarification for any of the signs. So yeah, fear dominates this. It's fear of the unknown, and as I say, that's natural. But the trick is to have a trigger that gets you out of that fear. When you feel it beginning to dominate, have something that will allow you to skip out of it. And for me, strangely, it's the title I chose for your last month, and it's the title of the Love Unlimited song. It may be winter outside, but it's our heart, it's spring. And that just reminds me that, however bad things seem to be, lift your spirits. Make it spring in your heart. Lift your spirits. And if you lift your spirits, everything will be fine. And you've come a long way. Let's not take it away from you. Yes, I think this month you slipped back slightly, but you've come a long way. And you've understood that not every battle is worth fighting. It's not about your ego, In fact, often it's better just to take the middle ground. It's better not to have an opinion, You may know that some time ago I issued a vlog on the unlikely contribution of Jews in the formation of Indonesia. And I got posts on it from Indonesians suggesting I was a Zionist, from somebody that I believe was actually Mossad agent. But he was accusing me of, all sorts of things. And the truth is that these sort of debate that people were having around it, I'm not that interested in. I'm not saying I'm not interested in the dreadful, dreadful things that are going on in the world, but we can't allow everything to be ingrained on our brains. That's one, I do probably have quite firm opinions, but they're not ones that I choose to express that often. And I don't see them as being tribal. It's not about unswerving support for one side or the other, Well, I'm a Muslim, so you can guess what side mine is, but, it's just not something that matters that much to me. And you've learned that. You've learned to take the middle ground. You've learned to be the chairperson, in terms of things. Unfortunately, I think this fear that underlies things has set you back. I think you're fearful of your future, and therefore you're going out and looking for money. And this isn't what the universe, God, Allah wants you to do, They want you to look for love. They want you to put your faith in love, not in materialism. And I really thought you'd understood that. And maybe you had, but fear is pushing you in the wrong direction. Now, you've done some wonderful things, and you will score some victories in what you're trying to do. But maybe you'll upset some people in getting there, and maybe long term, that's going to cause you another test, another set of problems to get through. But I think you've got the right approach to all this. I think you have, and you'll be able to deal with it. You're going to look back on this, I think, stoically. You're going to look back on it and say, oh yeah, that happened. I mean, to a certain degree, you even know that time is a human construct. So these are just ideas even from the current, But yeah, you're going to be able to look back on it and say, oh yeah, that was so that I learnt this, that's what that was about, I wouldn't say, well, I will say dispassionately, but I'm not accusing you of not being passionate. A bit like, me over the issue with Israel, I'm not dispassionate, it's just, I find it all so tribal that I don't want to be painted into one of those tribes, which means that I have to give unflinching support. But I mean, I suppose my position is more of complete mistrust over Mossad. total mistrust. I don't believe anything that occurs in the mainstream media about this whole thing. So, to express an opinion is a sort of a ludicrous thing. And I think, you've learned all this. You have learned all this. And it's a shame that fear conquers you a little this month.